Good evening. Let us slow ourselves down for a moment and make this not a performance, but a shared room, a shared breath, a shared willingness to be still together. The traffic of today can keep moving out there. In here, we will move more quietly, not to accomplish something, but to notice what is already present when we stop pressing. For some of you, fear is a constant background noise, a low hum you almost don't hear until someone asks how you are, and the answer rises in your throat before you can frame it. For others, fear comes in waves. A call from the doctor, a bill in the mail, a silence in a relationship that used to be easy, cresting, receding, leaving you scanning the horizon for the next swell. For still others, it is quiet by day and loud by night. The room gets dark, the body lies down, and the mind stands up to rehearse old scenes and invent new troubles. We are many kinds of people, but in this, we are one. We know the touch of fear. Now I want to say a sentence that will shape everything that follows. Fear is not defeated by combat. It is ended by withdrawing the consent that keeps it in office. The struggle with fear, this punching at shadows, has given it a dignity it never deserved. We have been voting it into our government with our attention, and then complaining that it passes harsh laws in our hearts. Tonight we will learn another way. And I am not here to sign you into anything. There are no memberships, no roll books, no systems to join, no badges to wear. The only bond in this room is a spiritual bond, and that is not conferred by me or by any organization. It is verified within you, by you, in the silence in which you discover whether what is being said can be lived and proved. The question then is simple and practical. How do we interrupt fear without wrestling the mind? In a few minutes, we will take 60 seconds, just 1 minute, and we will do it together. Not an argument, not a pep talk, not a battle. A withdrawal of consent. A resting as the felt presence of I am, before we use those words for any description, position, or role. We will do it, and you will know for yourself whether fear is the master or merely a loud suggestion. I do not promise a life without human sensation. We are not trying to numb ourselves. We are not trying to be brave by pretense. We are simply going to stop appointing fear as our authority. We will let it present its case if it wishes, but we will not. Now let us look very plainly at why the wrestling has seemed necessary and why it has not worked. The reason is this: attention and torment have a secret partnership. What you fight, you invite to stay. What you rehearse, you empower. When you set up the ring and put on the gloves, fear says, "Good, we have an appointment." And it pulls up a chair inside your consciousness and settles in for a long visit. You cannot evict a guest while you keep serving it courses of attention. And so, the more sincerely you struggle, the more sincerely you feed it, not because you are weak, but because you are honoring it as a worthy opponent, and in that honor, you give it place. There is a difference, and we must get it exact, between a sensation and an identity. Fear as a sensation can pass through the organism as quickly as weather passes over a hillside. A gust comes, leaves tremble, and then the air clears. But fear as identity is a declaration, an oath we do not even know we are swearing. I am afraid. Do you see? In that moment, you have performed a secret marriage. You have taken a passing pressure and given it your name. The sky has called itself the storm, and having said it, you then must live as if it were true. Because the mind is obedient to to what the heart has enthroned. Now we try to fix this discomfort by adjusting the outside. We read more news to feel prepared, and the river of reports brings not peace, but 1,000 new tributaries of concern. We add money and call it security, and then learn that money is a mirror that reflects the fear we brought to it. It produces more to fear losing. We try to control people, children, partners, colleagues, because their unpredictability threatens our plan, and we discover the world has 7 billion wills, and none of them were built to be our fence. We turn to rituals, some religious, some perfectly secular. The right candles, the right supplements, the right sequence of clicks. And for a moment, the hands are busy and the mind is soothed. But the root has not been touched. The ache returns, because externals cannot heal an internal oath. The subtle trap is language, and I am asking you to watch it with a holy watchfulness. I am afraid. I am anxious. I am overwhelmed. These are not reports, they are unions. You have used the sacred name I am, which is the name of your inner oneness, to chain yourself to a weather pattern. You have given the signature of the soul to a passing suggestion, and then, faithful to your own word, you must carry it. Freedom is hard to win, and it is much harder to retain when our speech signs new contracts every hour. If you can just see this for a moment, you will begin to understand why our struggling has been glue, why our rehearsing has been fuel, why our pledges have been prisons. And if you can see it, you will also understand why a single phrase, rightly used, can break the spell. Not as another fight, not as a trick of positive thinking, but as a quiet withdrawal of consent from the false identity and a resting as the I am before adjectives. In a few minutes we will do this together, but for now hold this diagnosis in your heart. Attention joined to fear enthrones it. Attention withdrawn to presence disinherits it. Now, before we move into any experiment, we must restore the meaning of that holy word before we use it. I am. Not as a slogan, not as a charm, not as a trick to hypnotize the mind into behaving for an hour. I am is not positive thinking, because you are not being asked to think something positive. You are being invited to recognize something present. This is not suggestion, it is recognition. It is not a picture you hold up to the dark. It is the light that was shining before the picture was drawn. When I first stumbled into this, decades ago, there was no thought of teaching it, and certainly no idea of starting anything. It was just the result of a personal experience of my own. In the quiet, through meditation, through a kind of consenting to be still without bargaining for results, I discovered that the word I, when declared within myself, without any companion word, ushered me into a felt awareness that was not me, the person. It was not my cleverness. It was not my courage. It was not my mood on a Tuesday. It was presence. It had authority not because I believed hard, but because it is what is, in and of itself. Since then, in the degree that I have remembered to return to that point of I have found that fear cannot hold office where that presence is consciously recognized. Do you see the distinction? I am strong, I am fearless, I am successful. These are statements about the costume. They dress up the actor. They may buoy the emotions for an hour, and there is a place for a kind human word when the day is heavy. But the practice we are speaking of is not the actor bracing himself. It is the actor stepping off the stage and resting as the nameless life that lives him. It is the naked sense of being, no adjectives, just I. Just that interior awareness which, when noticed, is simple, quiet, stable. You do not create it. You find yourself already in it, because it is your life. And now, about God. We have been taught, most of us, to think of God as a distant deity to persuade, a throne to approach with many words, a power to be convinced to act. I am asking you to set that aside for a moment, not as a doctrine, but as an experiment, and to consider that God is the indwelling source, the very life of your life, which can be consciously contacted. Not imported, contacted. The kingdom is within you, not as a poetic line, but as an address. When you say I inside yourself, without attaching fear or bravery or any other label, you are turning toward that withinness where guidance, peace, wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, love, and rest abide and flow without your urging. We are going to do it together. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silently within yourself. Think of that word, I. Declare it within yourself. Do not hurry. Do not add a second word. Do not try to feel something special. Merely notice that you are, and that your being is present before thought, before reaction, before the news, before the bill, before the diagnosis. We are going to let the mind sit down on the porch while we step inside the house. In a few moments, we will take 60 seconds and prove whether this is philosophy or presence. Until then, hold this gently. I am is not a statement about your personality. It is the doorway into conscious union with the one that has never been afraid. All right, we are going to do this together now. This is not theory, this is demonstration. First, simply notice the body. Without judgment, rate the fear or tension present right now, 0 to 10. Do not try to make it a nice number. Be honest and gentle. 6, 8, 2. Now locate it. Where is it most distinct? Chest? Throat? Belly? Behind the eyes? Make it concrete, not as an enemy, but as a weather report in your own sky. Close your eyes if you can, and if you cannot, soften the gaze. Just gently, not to get rid of anything, not to force anything. We are not pushing the river, we are turning to the source. Now, silently within yourself, think that word, I. Only that. I. Do not add a second word. Let it drop in and come to rest. I. Pause there. Again, within. I am. Let the two words be one recognition, not effort. I am. Not a shout, not a command, a noticing. This is. Let stillness answer you rather than you answering it. Now, still within, make a quiet revocation. No argument, no debate, just the truth withdrawing its signature. This fear is not my identity, not my authority, not my government. I do not unite the sacred I am to a passing sensation. I rest as I am. And we rest. 20 seconds. 30. Listening more than speaking. Noticing more than naming. Let the breath be unhurried. Let the space inside the chest be exactly as it is, and feel that being is present before the sensation, during the sensation, after the sensation. Let the I am be felt as a simple aliveness, a quiet awareness that does not explain itself, that does not need to. If a thought knocks, let it pass through the open door without greeting. If a feeling rises, do not adopt it. Let it drift like a cloud across a sky that is not changed by weather. I am. Now, come back without hurry. Open the eyes if they were closed. Look around the room or the place where you are sitting. And with the same honesty as before, re-rate the fear or tension, 0 to 10. Do not search for a miracle. Simply tell the truth. Has the number shifted? Perhaps a point, perhaps more. Has the pressure changed shape? Is there a touch more space or a sense of neutrality where there was heat? Even a small loosening is the sign that the government has changed hands, that fear has become a suggestion, not a master. This is how 1 minute can alter the quality of a day. Not by fighting a thought, but by withdrawing the consent that made it king and returning to the felt fact of I am. Now we are going to see why that worked and why you must guard it. What just happened to you is very simple and very sacred. For some of you, the pictures in the mind kept moving as they always do. But the center from which you watched them moved back, off the stage and into the audience, out of the story and into the witnessing. For others, the body still reported its weather, but the throne changed hands. Fear kept its voice, but lost its scepter. For still others, there was a marked quiet, a softening, a sense that something larger than your nervous system stepped forward and said, peace. Not as a command, but as a fact. In each case, notice, nothing was forced. Identity relocated, and the storm was no longer the government. Now, if you can just visualize for a moment the life of a branch, you will see the mechanism here. A branch has no plan for berries and leaves. It has no private reservoir. Its health is not a result of its straining. Its beauty is not a consequence of effort. Its life is a function of connection. Sever it and it withers, not because it is bad, but because it is no longer joined to the vine and the root that are drawing from the whole hidden system of supply. Leave it on the ground with excellent intentions and it cannot live. Return it to the vine, and without vows or slogans, the sap flows. Do you see? The minute we took together was not willpower, it was reconnection. You did not manufacture calm. You stopped impersonating a severed branch. Translate this to the inner life. The I within, just that word before any adjective, is the point of contact with the vine. When you declare, I am afraid, you are, without knowing it, performing a little surgery. You are simulating severance. You attach the sacred I am, which is one with the source, to a passing condition, and by that oath, you must live as if you were cut off. But when you silently return to I am, no second word, you consent again to your natural union. The words you have heard throughout the centuries are not theology. They are a map of experience. I am the vine. I and the Father are one. When identity rests there, the sap of peace, wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, love, and quiet strength rises without your managing. And this is why supply and guidance and composure are not manufactured qualities. They are not metals you earn. They are currents that flow when you abide. Calm comes not because the world behaves, but because your life is drawing from a source that is not the world. Intelligence for the next right thing does not arrive because you thought harder, but because the mind is now a branch through which the vine thinks its way into expression. Even timing changes. Doors open, words come. The right restraint holds you when speaking would spoil the fruit. The body may still whisper its weather, the newspaper may still bring its noise, but your government is not their report. A house divided against itself cannot stand, and the house of your consciousness, undivided in I am, does not need fear to supervise its safety. Therefore, the question before us is no longer, how do I overcome fear? The branch does not overcome drought by rhetoric. The question, the only one that matters from this moment on, is, how do I remain in the union I tasted? Abide in me, and I in you. Abide as the I that is one with the vine, and let life flow where struggle once tried and failed. Freedom is hard to win. It is much harder to retain. And the reason is not always dramatic. The quickest way back into bondage is not a crisis out there. It is the quiet, unconscious return to identity language in here. A moment ago, the throne changed hands. Now, one sentence carelessly spoken can hand back the scepter. Not because words are magic, but because I am is the name of your union, and whatever you bind it to, you agree to live under. How does fear re-enter? In the usual ways. For some, it's the news cycle, headlines marching like soldiers through the mind. Did you hear? It's getting worse. For others, it's family talk, well-meaning caution rehearsed as prophecy. Be careful, you know how your nerves are. For still others, it's the body's weather, an ache, a flutter, a tightness, interpreted not as sensation, but as verdict. And of course, there is the chorus of social reinforcement. We gather over coffee or screens and take turns anointing the next catastrophe. None of this is wicked. It is human habit. But habit writes covenants when we are not looking. Listen to the phrases by which we sign. I am afraid. I can't handle this. I am overwhelmed. What if? What if? What if? These are not condemned. They are simply recognized as unions being formed. The sacred name I am is yoked to a weather report, and, faithful to our signature, we begin to live as if the weather were our government. Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, yes, but also the mouth trains the heart. Speech is not a mirror only, it is a steering wheel. Now we do not replace these with bravado. We are not forcing sunshine. We are not dressing up the actor. We are quietly refusing to impersonate a severed branch. Use gentler speech that withdraws consent without strain. Fear is here, but I am. A suggestion is present, but I remain in I am. There is a sensation in the chest. It is reporting. It is not my authority. A thought is knocking. I need not answer in the name of I am. Do you feel the difference? The condition is acknowledged, but it is left outside of identity. The house is not divided. Ah, someone asks, but am I denying reality? No. You are denying fear's authority. You are denying it the chair of government. You will still take every practical step that wisdom presents. Call the doctor. Pay the bill. Lock the door. Meet the deadline. But do these as a branch abiding in a vine, not as an orphan scratching in the dust. Render to the situation what is due the situation. Render to I am the allegiance of your identity. Then the same act is performed under a different government, and peace accompanies you even into the emergency ward and the tax office. Set a holy watch over your language this week. Do not attach I am to any condition, pleasant or unpleasant. Let adjectives and forecasts stand at the gate and pass in only as reports. There is a thought. There is a feeling. There is a headline. Keep I am for presence alone. In this way, you keep open the channel by which wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, love, and quiet strength flow into expression. Now, let us make this demonstrable. Not just a beautiful minute, but something you can prove in daily living. We will take this from words to measures, from hearing to doing, and you will know by reduction, actual reduction in fear's authority, that the government has indeed changed. Let us be very plain. This is not a teaching to admire. It is a practice to demonstrate. People are not interested in a philosophy of words unless it can be backed with demonstration. So we will set before ourselves 3 ordinary tests, and this week you will take them as you take your meals, quietly, regularly, without show, and you will measure, not by belief, but by the simple changes in your inner government. First, the immediate trigger. A fear thought strikes. An email subject line, a tone of voice, a memory that rises with teeth. Do not answer it. Do not begin building the case for or against. Pause. Silently within, speak I. Do not add a second word. Feel for the seat of being, as if the body had a chair in the center and you gently sat down. Then, I am. 1 recognition, not 2 words. Wait there until the first compulsion weakens. Only then take the next outer step, if any. Now measure it. Did peace increase even a degree? Did your decision clarify? Yes, no, not yet? Did the time between trigger and sanity shorten? Those are your proofs. Not fireworks. Governance. Second, the body flare. The chest tightens, the stomach drops, the jaw locks. The old habit is diagnosis. It must be. It always means stop. Locate the sensation with the same honesty as before. Right there. Breathe without fixing. Withdraw the identity claim. Not, I am anxious, but there is tightness. I remain, I am. Let the body be included in presence, like a child brought into a quiet room where no one scolds, no one explains, but the atmosphere itself teaches rest. Measure it. Does the sensation loosen, even slightly? Do you find a tenderness where you expected panic? Does intelligence arise? Drink water now, stretch, call the doctor. Without the old terror narrating? That is proof. The vine is flowing through the branch, and the branch is not telling the sap what to do. Third, the future projection. The mind starts tomorrow's disaster film, scenes edited, scored, and believed. Refuse the movie. Do not argue with it. Step out of the theater. Return to now with I am. Feel the chair, the breath, the simple aliveness that requires no forecast to exist. Stay until projection loses momentum, even if it returns 10 times in an hour. Each return is a refusal to fund the studio. Measure it. Do the films get shorter? Do you forget to finish them? Do you discover one practical, present action that was invisible while you were casting next week's villains? Proof again. And now, a word about results. They will not always be dramatic. Sometimes the shift is a half-turn, a single degree toward quiet. That is enough if repeated. The proof is in sincerity and repetition, not performance. If you forget and sign your name to fear, see it, revoke it, and begin again. You do not earn presence. You consent to it, again and again, until consent becomes your habit. Therefore, keep a simple note if it helps. Morning, noon, evening. What was my number? How quickly did peace answer? Let your own life testify. And so, once you have proved it even a little, you will want a simple way to live from it without turning it into a ritual. We will take that up now. Now, before we take another step, we must protect what we have discovered from being turned into a badge, a slogan, a club. There is nothing to join. There are no memberships, no roll books, no dues, no outer qualifications. No one can join it, and no one can be expelled from it, because the only bond here is a spiritual bond. The moment you make a method into an identity, you have made an external dependency out of an inner grace. The minute 60 seconds becomes a charm on your wrist, or I am becomes a label on your coat, you are back at the counter buying another amulet. We are not adding ornaments. We are returning to union. Let me say it plainly. Do not make I am into churchianity. Do not repeat the words to impress God. God is not impressed. Do not repeat them to impress yourself. Ego loves a mirror. Do not repeat them to fight thoughts. Combat is still consent. The power is not in syllables. The power is in the cessation of the inner split. The words are the gate, not the garden. Use them as you would a key, quietly, naturally, and then walk in. Close the door. Enter thy closet, the inner chamber, and there in secret your Father sees. This is taught quietly because it works in the inner room, not on the public square. And now, discernment. Nobody can tell you which voice is true for you. Not a teacher, not a committee, not a crowd. You yourself, without human obligation, must spiritually hold fast to what is demonstrably true. Measure everything by fruit. More peace, not apathy. More love, not sentimentality. More stability, not rigidity. More guidance, not restlessness. If your practice leaves you a little kinder in traffic, a little clearer in choices, a little less governed by headlines, then you know something living is at work. If your repetition leaves you brittle, superior, or frightened unless you say your lines, tear it up. That was superstition wearing a halo. You are not alone in this. Even though there is nothing to join, there is a spiritual band around this globe. Men and women in quiet rooms and crowded kitchens who at dawn and at midnight remember I am and rest there until the climate of their homes changes. You will never meet most of them, and yet you will know them by their fruit. They will not ask for your loyalty, and they cannot take your freedom. What binds us is invisible and cannot be organized. What sustains us is union and cannot be rationed. Therefore, keep it simple. Keep it secret in the heart. Keep it receptive. No boasting. No anxiety about doing it right. No counting beads on the word I. Return, rest, receive, and let the vine do the living. In this way, the practice stays a living union and not a new ritual. Now, let us take it one step deeper, because there is a reason fear loses color when you abide. What fear is really afraid of is not your circumstances. It is your remembrance. It cannot live in the presence it cannot divide. Fear, at its root, is a politician of division. It campaigns on a platform of two-ness, me against life, me against my own body, me against God. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Fear knows this and seeks its vote by whispering, there are two powers, threat out there, weakness in here. And the moment we consent, the moment we sign the inner ballot that says, I am apart, I am at odds, I am on my own, fear takes office. That is its only jurisdiction, division. I am is the end of that platform. I am is undivided awareness, not two powers, not God and something, not spirit and arrival. One presence, one life, one mind, appearing as you and as the circumstances of your day, with suggestions moving across its surface the way breezes move over a lake. In that undivided presence, suggestions can arise and pass. None can legislate. The wind has motion. The lake has depth. When you rest as I am, you stop identifying as the wind and consent to be the depth. Then fear's words lose standing. They may speak. They cannot govern. Do not mistake this rest for idleness. Abiding is not passivity. It is the end of panic. It is action without frenzy, motion without alarm. From I am, the next step rises of itself, sane and timely. You phone the doctor without terror. You pay the bill without self-accusation. You delay an email that would have complicated the day. You say no without drama, or yes without self-betrayal. The branch does not lie on the couch. It bears fruit because the sap is moving. So it is here. Guidance is no longer guessed at. It flows. And what flows? Wisdom for the immediate thing. Quiet strength that does not announce itself. Patience that is not resignation but steady love. Discernment that feels the false and turns. Stability like a keel under a shifting deck. Healing tendencies in mind and in body as strain is released. Timing that fits doors as if cut for them. Resources that were already present but hidden by noise. Peace, not numbness. Alertness, not agitation. Courage, not bravado. All this is the natural life of an undivided consciousness. Take a practical scene. The same envelope arrives in two houses, past due. In the fear government, the body floods. The mouth says, I can't. The mind writes a movie where ruin is the ending. And 5 frantic, wasteful acts follow to manage what has not yet happened. Sleep leaves. Harsh words spend what money cannot. Now the same envelope under God-governed consciousness. The flutter is noticed, not enthroned. I am. Breath returns. 2 quiet questions come. What is the exact amount? What is the next true call? A conversation is had with humility and clarity. An unnecessary purchase is cut. A friend is asked, not manipulated. A plan appears. 1 step for today, 1 for Friday. The figure on the page remains the same. The government within is different, and therefore the fruit is different. For some, this shift is already your new habit. For others, it is still a minute wrested back from old reflexes. For still others, it is a flash that vanishes and must be called again 10 times a day. In every case, the principle holds. Fear cannot maintain authority where there is no inner split. Abide as I am, and the voice that required division loses its microphone. Therefore, we will not leave this as an idea. We will close by making a compact with ourselves. A simple 60-second return, again and again, as often as needed, until undivided presence becomes your normal government and not merely your emergency room. So let us make our little covenant for the week. Not a rule, not a vow carved in stone. An invitation, 60 seconds, 3 times as a baseline. Upon waking, at midday, and at the first sign of fear, however small. For some, this will be your first true rhythm. For others, it will refine what you already do. For still others, it will be the lifeline you reach for when you have forgotten and must begin again. In every case, it is simple and it is sufficient, because it returns you to I am. Here is the microscript, exact, gentle, and without ornament. First, notice fear without naming it as yourself. Not, I am afraid, but there is a flutter, there is tightness, there is a picture. Second, inwardly, just that one word, I. Let it drop into the center. Pause. Then, I am. One recognition. Pause. Third, withdraw consent. I do not unite the sacred I am to this passing suggestion. No argument, no force, just revoke the signature. Fourth, rest and listen. Do not reach for sentences. Let presence answer with its own atmosphere. Fifth, take the next practical step calmly, nothing heroic. One honest email, one glass of water, one phone call, one line in the ledger, or the wisdom to do nothing yet. That is all. 60 seconds. Then live. Hold this as yours. Nobody can hold it for you. Not a teacher, not a group, not a book. You yourself, without human obligation, must spiritually hold fast. If you forget at 11, remember at 11:01. If you sign your name to fear at 3, revoke it at 3:01. Blessings cannot be inflicted upon you. They come as you consciously unite. And when you do, the vine lives the day through the branch, and peace does not wait for permission from headlines or symptoms. Let it remain a kindness, not a law. If morning slips, take mid-morning. If noon is noisy, take 2 quiet minutes at 2. If fear speaks at the curb or the kitchen sink, your closet is the interior of your awareness. It opens wherever you are. Enter, close the door of words, rest in I am, and let the house of consciousness be governed from the center. We have reached our time. Oh, where did the time go? Before we rise, take a few breaths right where you are. No reaching outward, just that one inner acknowledgement, I am, and the soft willingness to be lived. Let gratitude have no sentences, only recognition. Life is here, and it is sufficient to its day. Carry this with you. You do not have to wrestle fear today, only return. Again and again, as often as needed, until I am is your normal government, and not merely your emergency technique. Go quietly, go simply, and abide.